pig, right? Right now, she's work on pig. I mean your topic about pig, right?
About the sound.
About sound.
So.
Okay. Maybe please welcome Shu Ping to give a presentation for today's seminar.
Originally I said Shu Ping maybe because he working in the farm, so he will late. But now I will change a little bit because I thought he's still prepare his presentation.
Okay, before Shu Ping start, maybe I will talk some like short briefly because I worry my student will misunderstand. For the aim of this seminar, Dr. Hsia holding this seminar because want to share the knowledge in animal science in different fields, like for ruminant animal, monogastric animal, or mid-size, or other animal related, and just give at least for master student. Normally in our lab we give at least 4 paper, right? Is it still the same? Four paper. And for PhD student will find more than like 5 or 10 or something that they can do it. Like something similar with literature review and give briefly what is going on with the topic that you interested. Okay, please start, Sophie.
Okay, thank you, Nate, for the introduction. So today, for my topic, I would like to talk about the. Oh wait, is it short or
yes,
more?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So my topic today is talking about the factors of the embryo survival rate on cell. So as we know, for the long time briefly talking, the kind of the saying is although high feed intake in field maximize the ovulation rate, and if the feed will get a high feeding level after mating, they may decrease the embryo survival rate. And the mechanism is because the lower embryonic survival in girls on a high feeding level has been related to decreased systemic progesterone concentrations caused by an increased clearance in the liver related with the increased metabolic rate. For this kind of thing is that's because they said when the feed intake is increased in the cell, so they will also increase the metabolic. So the metabolic rate will become quick. So in one circulation, they cannot retain more progesterone to keep the uterine or the ovarian to development. So some authors, they also suggested that the timing for the change in feed intake, which is the period during after mating, could be critical to demonstrating effect of feed intake on embryo survival rate. As we can see that the consistent evidence for such detrimental effect of the high level nutrition on embryo survival is lacking. That means the result is not really consistent. Some of the papers show that if the cell with the high level of the feed intake, they will decrease the progesterone, so will also decrease the embryo survival rate. But some of them will also say if increase the feed intake of the cell after mating, especially during the early gestation stage, which is 0 to 30 days. So they can improve the litter size, or they also can improve the embryo survival rate. So from the first one, I want start from a general speaking that we can see that in the treatment, the author feeding the control and the plus feed treatment as 2.5 kg per day and 3.25 kg per day. And first for the first table is talking about the growth performance. And we can see that there are no other difference on there, and only the difference on the feed intake will just the influence on the body weight. So we also, how about in the reproductive performance? We can see that for the reproductive performance, we check the p-value first. We also did not see the significant on it. Especially for the embryo survival rate that we want to say, we can see the total survival rate and the viable rate and also viable embryos to implantation size. We can see that whatever in the treatment with the 2.5 kg or 3.25 kg, they won't have the big difference on it. And especially we can see that actually here had some chance that to increase the embryo survival rate at the high feeding level. So in the general, because for the general speaking, we always said that after mating, the 0 day is the mating day. After mating, the progesterone will be increased, and maybe around 50 or 13 to 15 days, they will go to the peak, and they will drop a little bit and will consistently. So there are so for the mechanism, they want to check that how many days that we provide the feed intake or provide the progesterone is more better for the sow or the gilt. And also we can see that when they plus feed, for the treatment, they plus feed after 3 days till 15 days. Till 15 days of the early gestation stage. So we can see that we also cannot see the significant on the LH performance. But here has the thinking that we have to notice is the positive effect of the high feeding level on litter size at term might be associated with an increased embryo survival up to day 35 of pregnancy. That's because if effect on the embryonic survival are absent, a better embryonic and placenta development and therefore increase the survival chance in the fetal up to them. So for the not only for the embryo survival rate, we still have to provide a good space for them. Like we also have to develop the placenta of the sow or gilt, so they can increase the embryo survival rate after 35 days. And the other things is, as we mentioned about the LH. In here, we can see that the progesterone concentrations from days from 12 to 29 of gestation have been reported to be independent on the LH secretion. And this kind of increased LH secretion could therefore positively influence progesterone concentration. And also here are the other also reported that if the sow is in the restricted feeding, we also can see the control and the 2 types of the control feed intake in the pregnant gilt. They will have the negatively influence LH in winter. That's because in the winter time the sow need more, because it's more cold, so the sow need more energy for maintain their self. So in the winter time, if the feed intake is not enough, so we'll also get the lower reproductive performance on cell. So there are here is the author. He thinks that if the progesterone is so important for the embryo survival rate, so how about we just provide the hormone is like progesterone from outside. They use the injection way to give the progesterone like hormone. So we can see that they provide we can see the first one is NS. NS is no injection is control. And the second one, PG, they will injection till the 6 days for after examination. And the third one is ALT. ALT is for long term, is from day 6 to 12 of the pregnancy. So So we already can see from the figure. We can see that the P4 will be increased with the treatment which provide the hormone which provide the hormone like progesterone. So how about in the embryo survival rate? Even the progesterone seems like getting a little bit higher, but we can see that for the embryo survival rate for the whatever in the gilt or cell, their embryo survival rate is getting lower with the injection progesterone. And the other thing is also significant, that's the chrome-2 rump length and the embryo weight. We also can see that when the embryo survival rate is getting lower, so we can see from the gilt side, we can see that the treatment with the injection for the progesterone-like hormone, so they have the significant lower embryo weight on it, but for the cell, it's not consistent result on it. And the other thing is the author also determined about the vein, and we can see that the groups with the injection hormone, so we can see that they can get higher MGA. So MGA here is the medial glandular area. So that means maybe they can the hormone. They also can increase the blood flow in the uterus. So how about so we can see that in the different date, maybe they will have different results. From the lesson one, we can know that when we provide hormone from the artificial from the outside, maybe won't have big effect on the embryo survival rate, and maybe also will have some decreased parameter on it. So how about we just mentioned about the date of we give the injection for the progesterone. We can see that the N1 is no significant, and we can see that if they provide for the N1 is control group, and the N3 is the provide 1.5 times maintenance feed intake from 1 to 3 days, just after mating for 3 days, and the H group is 2 times of the maintenance for the feed intake, for the maintenance feed intake. So we can see that this study is really relative the mechanism we talked at first. That the introduction said when the feed intake increase, so the progesterone will also decrease. And also the other thing is correlation is the estrogen. The estrogen will also have the chance to getting lower with the progesterone. So we can see that, for this one, this figure is too vague. But we still can see that for the black one is aerial crude routine and the progesterone. We can see that they also have the correlationship on it, and also we can see the peak for it is also around the 15 days. So this is the other experiment did by just depend on the progesterone concentration in the plasma. We can see that for the initial, we can see that when the progesterone concentration is increased, yes, they will increase for the embryo survival rate, and we can see it. But for the second one, the second line for the 4.5 to 7.5 concentration, we can see that they will have some disadvantage on it. So next one is also continuously for the different treatment for days. So we can see that here are no big difference on it, like the ovulation rate or the total embryo survival rate. Oh, we can see from the total embryo survival rate will be decreased by the treatment, which is still increase the feed intake till 12 days. So this study is also correlate with the mechanism we talked about, that's because reduce of the progesterone. So maybe because the progesterone, so the embryo survival rate will be getting lower on this treatment. How about in the other parameters? So we can see that maybe we can see that for this parameter is conduct with the different feeding strategies. Like before mating, we give the high feed intake or the low feed intake. And after that, we will give the high or low feed intake after mating. Seems that here are NS on it, but that I want to talk about from here is for the post-mating. The post-mating feed intake will influence on the uterine weight. We can see that if the post-load treatment and the treatment also for the pre-load, it means before mating and after mating, the feed intake is in low standard. So the uterine weight will become more light. So that means the capacity of the uterine is not good as the other treatment. And also they will have we can see that after mating, so the low feed intake of the treatment, they will getting lower number of the embryos, and also will getting the lowest embryo survival rate. So here I want to make a kind of saying is that maybe the feed intake after mating, we still need to give the optimal feed intake for them, for the sow, because when the feed intake is too low to the sow, so they will also have the other bad effect on it, on the reproductive performance. And here are the other author demonstrated that the pre-mating feed intake is also very important on the embryo survival rate than the post-mating feed intake. So it's the contrast with the previous study. So for this one, from this experiment, we can know that not only for the progesterone or the LH secretion is important, also for the management before mating and after mating are also very important on it, because when that's due to the before mating, if the feed intake is too lower, or the after mating the feed intake is getting also lower, so will cause the reproductive troubles. And also here, have the author said the post-mating feed intake below when the feed intake below the maintenance, they will decrease the embryo survival in phases the import of the optimizing post-mating feed intake to achieve maximal reproductive performance in pigs. And the other experiment that this one is more related with the progesterone and the LH. From this one, we can see that the treatment of this series of the experiment, the treatment will be separated into two. And one is the high embryo survival rate, one is low embryo survival rate, and they will depends on the 70% for the embryo survival rate. So the higher one is over 71%. We can see that if the sow they have the peak more quickly, they have the LH peak is more longer than they were more longer than the low embryo survival rate treatment, and they also have to consider about the LH surge relative to peak E2. So we can see that from this parameter should be shorter will be good. So that means the LH, because of the LH will also increase or maybe will also influence for the progesterone. But in this paper, we also can see that even the LH getting higher in the high embryo survival rate, we also can see that the treatment, whatever the treatment in which kind of the embryo survival rate, we can see that the peak of the estrol to progesterone or LH2 progesterone is no effect on it. But we still can make a result that we can see because this one for this treatment is not for guilt, it's for second period, second parity of the cell. So we can see that the embryo recovery rate will be higher when the LH peak is longer. And we can see that so opposite to say like the LH surge to peak of the E2 will be lower on it, and that means the embryo survival rate will embryo recovery rate will be higher. So that we can see that whatever in the guilt of cell, we can see that the peak to LH for the cell will getting more longer. So that means the cell's embryo survival rate may be getting higher than the guilt. And the other thing is for the embryo recovery rate. So we can see that in the high embryo survival rate, we know that the high survival rate one, and they will also have high recovery of the embryo survival rate. So the author also suggests that a small group of the follicles of the day 18 of the estrol cycle secrets E2 sooner than do the follicles and induce the voluntary surge of the LH. So this series of events would result in the ovulation of follicles at different maturational stages and could constitute the diversity in the embryo development. When the diversity in the embryo development is higher, it means the performance, the reproductive performance and the cell performance will be more stable on it. Okay, and the other and next talking will discuss about the short-term lactation stage or the long-term lactation stage. Will also maybe influence for the embryo survival rate. As we can see that the lactation length For the short one, they just their lactation length just have 13 days, and the long one is for 31 days, is for 1 month. So we can see that because of the sow, we in the treatment in long lactation, so they will eat more because they will lose more body weight or the back fat. So they will eat more to reserve it, to maintain their self. So we can see. So how about in the reproductive performance? We can see that the let me explain a little bit about this. The SL is short lactation, and the LL is long lactation. And for the CT is controlled without anything. But the ST is they also injection the steroid hormone for the sow and also for this one. But for now, I just want to discuss about the SLCT and the LLCT. We can see that when the lactation length is longer, so the embryo survival rate will increase from 55 to 80%. And even they adjust the value for the embryo survival rate, we can see that it still have the big difference on it. And also will influence on the total viable embryo weight, and also for the reproductive performance on it. So we can know that the long lactation for the sow, maybe they have more time to recovery. So their embryo survival rate will getting longer and will getting higher. And the other one is also for the long lactation length. We can see that the long lactation length, they had more, how to say, the WEI. They have the shortest, they have shorter WEI compared with the short lactation treatment. So we can see that the viable of the embryos will also be increased for this treatment with the long lactation state period. And the other one
we need to extra interval.
Yeah, we need to extra interval days. So shorter will be better from this side. Okay, and next one is for the progesterone related with the E2. So we can see that the progesterone is the circle one. So we can see that whatever the progesterone with the long lactation or short lactation, they will also increase the after mating. But we can clear to see that from the maybe 14 to 20 days, the long lactation treatment will directly drop the P4 concentration, compared with the short lactation treatment. And the author said for this period, he also have no idea for that what kind of things, what's the situation for it will be happen. But we still also can describe that even the P4 drop in this period, but it's also even the concentration of the progesterone is certainly decrease in this period, but we also can know that this treatment will still with the high survival rate of the embryo. So he said maybe after 14 or 15 days, the progesterone concentration is not so important for the embryo survival rate. And here we also can see that for the sow which has low short WEI, so they will have high progesterone before day 12 of the pregnancy. So if the sow or gilt, they can get a higher progesterone on this side. So that means the embryo survival rate maybe will getting higher for this situation. And the other one is E2. We can see that for the E2 is not big difference on it. It's almost the same trend on it. And the other reports, they are based on the retrospective record analysis. It's connect. Have suggested a similar negative relationship between cell WEI, winning to estrol interval days length, and the subsequent following rate and the litter size. So when the WEI will getting longer, so that means your influence on the reproductive performance on cell, not only embryo survival rate, and also will influence on the following rate and the litter size of the piglet. And the other thing is I want to talk about when the cells return to the estrol stage from the 7 to +10 is quite longer. They have the decrease. They will also decrease the following rate and the litter size compared with the treatment with the short day to the short WEI days to PT to estrals. So I will make the conclusion that because in the original we always think the progesterone concentration is the most important things. It's the most important concern on the embryo survival rate. But from the papers that from the studies, we can see that the result is not consistent on the embryo survival rate. Maybe we'll also have the other factors like the hormone, like the LH, because LH will also influence for the progesterone concentration, and also for the feed intake, maybe they will, and also for the long lactation or short lactation, they will also influence for the embryo survival rate immediately. So this is my topic today. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Shu Ping. Does anyone have any questions or comments, please?
Chet.
I think Iswa want to ask first. I think he on his microphone. So.
Okay, Ezra.
Two things that I want to make clear again. As we know that the progesterone is important dealing with the survival embryo rate. And you mentioned also that the feeding, pre-mating, and after mating is both of them are important. Then the question is, when we give the feeding pre-mating, actually in which around which day that this feeding will affect to increasing the progesterone. Then also after mating, actually when these feedings still have effect, maybe you already mentioned before, but I'm not quite clear for this one. And then, okay, this is the first.
Can I answer first question first? Okay. For the progesterone, because maybe I didn't mention too clear that this figure is for the progesterone concentration, and we can see that after mating, the progesterone will goes up directly until maybe around the 13 to 15 days. So is the things for it. And the other things you mentioned about the pre and post the mating feed intake, right? So I think for the pre-mating, actually I forgot to mention a very important thing that I think whatever how many feed intake you give in the pre-mating period or the post-mating period, the most important is the body condition score should be around 3. You cannot too fat or too slim. So they will also when they didn't go to the reproductive performance, they already influence their growth performance first. So maybe for the pre-mating, if the feed intake is not enough, so maybe your sow will not hitting all the puberty. So both of us is very important. But if you say how many feed intake I should have, I have no how to say, I have no concrete answer because it depends your sow or guild body condition score.
Oh, so in another word, can we say that for the feeding pre-mating, can we say that if our BCS body condition scores of our guild is already achieved around 3, then is that not really necessary to go, is that not really necessary to give the additional feeding?
You mean post-mating, right?
Pre-mating.
Pre-mating?
Because
You mean
pre-mating.
the pre-mating?
Yeah, pre-mating. He said it's pre-mating.
No need. Just the maintenance, the body
Good.
condition score.
Okay.
But if this is true, and then all the conclusion in the literature review will be okay, will be denied. You know, because many years ago we said there is no need supplement the feed at all. Many years ago, but later, because people say that if we exclude the fat one, if we exclude all the fat one, you increase food intake, you still can have more higher embryo survival rate or litter size, bigger litter size. So I believe this may be still true because this is why I think why the Ezra asks us this question is because in the sheep and the goat, this is called flush. If flush is no use, and then you know, it seems have a lot of things we cannot agree at the moment. So maybe we need to think about this thing again. Okay, that's my saying. I'm not quite sure, but I should say flush, too fat animal maybe is no use, but the flush, the medium to lower body condition scores pigs maybe have good results. Maybe.
For the second sentence, for the last sentence, I 100% agree with that sentence, Dr. Shah. For
Okay.
the flushing for the low body condition score until medium, maybe that's I really agree with that because we find the situation that in one case in some farmer that we have, they say that our dairy never get estrus almost 6 months. Then one time we saw that, oh, maybe this is the body score is not ideal, so we can say that thin. Then they say that we suggest that can you give some more the diet or concentrate and the forage, and then after that, after maybe around 2 months later, then it come to estrus again. So for the low body scores, the flushing, I agree that it will affect. For the high, but for already, for the animal that already ideal body condition scores, I don't have any proof about that. That is, thank you, Dr. Shah.
Any more questions or comments for Shu Ping?
Okay. Thank you, Sue, for your presentation tonight. I have one curiosity and one question. First, I would like to ask about the, I think, beginning of the slides, slide 6, 7, or 8. Yeah. From beginning of the slide, from this table, we can see, like, I think the later one, like the guild and sow has the, compare with the guild, the sow has the better survival rate, right? So I'm curious about the if there any difference in the different parity stage, because all of the tables there is I haven't found any reference on the parity, so there is no relation with parity and the embryo survival rate. This is my curiosity.
Okay, for this question, we can see from this table. Yes, he also mentioned about the guild and the sow for the different parity. So we can see that the embryo, sorry, for this one is for the embryo recovery, but we can see that here, for here is no significant. So how about in the oh, sorry, they didn't mention about the they didn't mention about the embryo survival rate, but I remember that he said, the author said that the parity is not the major factor for the embryo survival rate. We also can inference from this table for the ovulation rate. We can see that even a little bit lower in the guild, but they also have no significance on it. So, for my opinion, I think if the guild is okay for the, also for the body condition score or the other things, they will, for the management, if the for the management is well, I don't think the guild will have big difference with the sow. Because of the only thing we have to take care about of the guild, that's because they have to maintain their self, and also they have to maintain of the fetus or the embryo survive. So maybe for this kind of situation, because for my experiment, I always work on the guild. So there are also the other papers said that maybe increase the feed intake at the early gestation stage, maybe can be worked on the guild, but not necessary on the sow. But for this part of the paper, I think I need to find more confident or more evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah.
I have some comments here, because for the practical point of view, they will separate for the parity for multiplus animal like pig. They will focus on gill, like for the first parity, and for the sound is from second parity to until they kill. So maybe from here, the point is how they dealing with the gill by feeding and also dealing with the sound. And also from, I think from the beginning for Shu Ping presentation, that when they are plus feed, then still have some difficult for the gill. So when dealing with the gill, they will give the injection for the hormone, because for the hormone itself, for the gill, they will have effective than the sound. Yeah. So I also have one question for Sue. From this presentation, how can you apply for the management, feeding management to the field?
Because of the paper's result is not consistent. So, but for my experiment that I already did for 3, so I will say that maybe energy for the feed intake will increase, will have some benefit on the litter size. But we also found that maybe the protein or carbohydrate is not the most important thing for it, because for one of my experiments that I just give more, I give the same premix concentrate with the high feed intake treatment, but the feed intake is still for control. So for this kind of situation, we also notice that the litter size and for the litter size will have no big difference with the high feed intake treatment one. So maybe for this one is the kind of the outbreak for my experiment, and maybe we can just jump out for the energy requirement, this kind of situation. So for the field, sorry. So for the field, if for my opinion, that I will say that maybe for my continuously experiment, I found that because I also doing the other one, so I cannot give a concrete results, but maybe we'll also get some disadvantage if the feed intake is too high to the yield, because they will get him more fed. I'm not sure for the result because I'm still doing for the experiment now. Yes. And but the other thing is also very important for the body condition score, because we can see from this one, from this experiment, they increased to 3, but there are no significant for the embryo survival rate, right? So if I'm the farmer, I was asked that why I need to give so many, like why I need to give one kg of the feed on it, because I got almost the same result on it. So still need to be discussed. I'm not really sure. Thank you.
Do you still remember, like, I think last time we have more than 4 students working with a feeding gill experiment, and their result is not quite good when they are increased the feed intake for the gill. Because I still remember at that time I have to stay in the following house for whole day and have sound like give birth, because they feed too much. When they feed too much, the embryo is a big size at the beginning for before mating and after mating. And for the many literature review, they mentioned that flushing will good result with sound, but different with the gill results. And for you also show some results that for increase the feed intake is good for sow that they have a weaning to start interval too long, and then they will fashing. So for the gill, they will not use this method. They will use the hormone rather than feeding. But if your experiment can figure out that Thai will not use hormone, and then they can increase the embryo survival rate, maybe good for the farmer also. Yeah. Any more question for Thai student? Or any more question from the audience, please?
Yulita?
Okay, thank you so for your presentation. I'm sorry, would you please explain more because I still don't understand about the short lactation and the long lactation. Why the long lactation can increase the embryo survival rate?
Sure. For this experiment is this experiment did by the different days for the lactation on the sow. So here we can see that for the short one is 13 days and longer one is 31 days. So we can see that the treatment from the performance, the growth performance, we can see that they have more high feed intake. But I will say that for the embryo survival rate, we can see that for the long lactation one, they have high. Sorry for that. They have high embryo survival rate than the short one, right? And the other explain that that's because they how to say they stop lactation directly, and and that time for the 13 days, because in the how to say in the milk yard for the sow, they will just increase follow the days for the lactation. So they didn't give they just suddenly stopped at the 13 days. So we'll have also some influence on the hormone. So there's all, and the other problem is they don't have time to recover themselves, because that for 13 days they said that just 2 weeks after give birth. So the mom cannot recover I cannot say totally recover less than the treatment with the long lactation. So their embryo survival rate maybe will also getting lower. And for this kind of situation, they also give the lower feed intake than the long lactation state. So we can see that when the feed intake is higher in the lactation stage, so they will have more energy. They can also maintain themselves and also provide the piglet. So the WEI for the LL will getting shorter. So when getting shorter, the viable of the embryos will increase, because that means the nutrition is enough for the sow to estrol. So for this kind of period, even they getting the longer time to lactation, seems like we increase the cost. But from the other side, for the embryo survival rate side to check on it, we can know that actually they have some benefit on the reproductive performance, especially for the next period.
Yunita, can you understand? No?
I'm understand a little because I still confused. Shu mentioned there is a two factor which is affecting the embryo survival rate. In I remember she said about the feed and then related with the energy, and the another one is related with the hormone. So I still a bit confused to make a relation for both of this. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Susu, can you link it together for the feed intake and hormone?
I just can say that if the feed intake is enough, so the hormone will goes to the normal situation. Like if the sow cannot get enough feed intake, so they won't be estrol on the day that we want, because we usually for the WEI we want day heating, we want day estrol in 1 week after weaning.
Yeah,
So,
we want them more short
yeah,
period.
we want short period for that. So it's also very important that the feed intake in the lactation stage, because in the lactation stage they have to maintain themselves and they also have to produce milk, right? So they have so many things need to do. So we will in normal situation we will increase the feed intake. Okay, so we can make them get more nutrition, not only for themselves, but also for the piglet and also for the next priority for the prepare for it. And the other thing is, if from the short lactation, that means they didn't. We can see from this one. We can see that the feed intake for the short lactation here is less than the long lactation one. So they said that that's because also the reason for the sow, they cannot recover it directly. They cannot recover it so quick than the long lactation treatment. Is it okay?
Can I explain like this way? Sorry. 31 days is a little bit longer than usually 28 days. And actually, the milk production should be a little bit decreased. And the sow or the gilt cannot produce so much about the milk. So they will recover from the hormone side. Because milk side is related with prolactin or this kind of hormone. But now milk production is less, and then your prolactin will be reduced, and then you can recover about the other hormones. And once you recover the other hormones, and then you will easily to become heat. From my point of view, I read about this kind of paper. It's also said like this way. So this is maybe is important relate with long milking time and the short milking time. Don't forget, short milking time, you still in the over secretion of the hormone. That makes the animal cannot easily to recover from the over secretion of the hormone. So they cannot easily recover from heat. Okay, they become not easy to become heat. And if they are more longer time, they will not produce so much about this kind of hormone, so they can more easily to recover. That's my explanation. And okay, Any question, comments? If not, say page 8. Can I ask a question? Here you mention about the progesterone. It's no difference between the control and the higher feeding treatment. So if this is true, then the progesterone is not an important one. Is that true?
For
But the
this
progesterone,
experiment.
but the progesterone is very important to make the stable of the pregnant. So how to explain this kind of ambiguous?
Because I also thinking for this question, and my explanation on it, that's the maybe because there are no big difference on the body conditions score change, so they won't have the big difference on it. Like also for my experiment, we can see that for the treatment with the high feed intake, and they will get a little bit higher body weight, but no big influence on the body condition score and the body back fat. So can we say that maybe because they don't have the so big difference on it, so for the hormone change is not will become so big difference on it.
This report will mention about this condition score. Is this same? Is the same thing as you mentioned the last table? Can you show last table again?
This one.
And you can see here, this is a very interesting part, because in the 2.5 kgs, their back fat thickness is 1.3. Am I right? 1.3, 13.1, and 3.25 kilos is about 12.2. So in this situation, their body condition score even higher than the high fat in food intake, this one. That is why they maybe because they have storage of the fat, so they will not have bigger difference on the LH. Can I say that? I'm not quite sure.
Can you explain again?
Okay.
That's because the
Okay. You can see here is 13.1.
yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And here is 12.2.
Yes.
And this 13.1, their food intake is less.
Yes.
And 12.2, their food intake is higher. So if their LH is no difference, and then can I say it's because they have more fat? So they have more storage of the nutrient.
But the back fat for this one is at weaning. But for the back fat at start of the treatment is no difference.
Okay. Where is the back fat on the treatment?
This one.
This one?
12.6.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. Thank you for your explanation.
But here
Okay.
before slaughterhouse, before go to slaughterhouse, the plus feed they are increase the back fat.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe they use not different like one pig, one sow or something like that. So the results they show like this. Maybe because I saw like the N is 153, something like that for the replicate.
Duplicate is 19 and
19,
30.
right?
Mm.
How about the when they plus feed? Is it something related with the hormone or not?
Yes. When the feed intake increase, so they will also increase the IGF, the IGF-1. So have the other report also said the IGF-1 is also have two concern about the embryo survival rate on it.
But they are emphasized like 2 weeks after give hormone, right? For the figure hormone figure.
Hormone figure.
Yeah. Yeah, from here. Or from first injection, first day.
No, they didn't injection for progesterone. The progesterone is from body, is from plasma.
Yeah, but for this figure, for the plus feed compared with the control, they have a high concentration of progesterone at day from day 11 or something.
The peak is here.
Yeah, day 11, right?
11 to 12.
So the meaning is here, if we apply to the field that even we give hormone or not, we should provide more feed before mating or after mating.
I think both.
I just had to link because for the
Because
feeding is difficult for the sound and gill here.
I don't think that is a difficult thing, but as Dr. Shah said before, if exclude the fat pig for the pre-mating, we should be give more feed to flushing them. So because I remember for the sheep, I also flush them and I make their body condition score go to 3.5, a little bit more than 3. So maybe they can increase the opportunity to get the twins.
But for my opinion, I think your presentation today, you have more information for the feeding point of view and also for the hormone point of view. And for the WEI, normally if they have a longer WEI, they will have low conception rate, right?
Yes.
Normally if long WEI, they will have low conception rate. So can you go back to that slide? Yeah. Like for example here, LL 3 to 4 and LL 5 or 6 to 7. From here, the difficult is how can we apply the feeding with the hormone. Like for example, if the WEI is longer, normally they will have a disadvantage for the conception rate. And also the farmer will have a longer to feed them until next cycle. So normally they will prefer short period, but for the short period they also have disadvantage. because of the sound itself, they cannot recover their body condition score. So they will apply the feeding method to like increase the feed intake during this state to let them become heat more quick. Is this right from here? For my opinion, what I want to say, maybe you will not understand my English. I did not speak
I know.
English with you so long. I mean, like, if we apply these two factors together for the feed intake, increase feed intake, and also give hormone for them for gill or sound, because normally we prefer for pig production, we prefer WEI is more short. And then if WEI is short, they will not reach the body condition score not enough to next cycle to become a heat. So they will apply the feed intake here more. And used to is used for the sound, is not gill. Is this right?
Basically speaking, weaning to estrol interval short usually will have higher embryo survivor or higher litter size, and the short, the longer the WEI, the short, the lower the embryo survivor, or the lower the litter size. This is true, but now the problem is whether this is related with the body size and also related with food intake. I don't know. I didn't see from this table.
I mean, if we link it together, like, because Shu Ping.
Yeah, but now it's no, they didn't bring together, so we cannot easy to make a conclusion. Yeah, hope in the future have some kind of this kind of result for the same.
Yeah, very more complete.
Yes.
Any more questions?
Page last one. The conclusion. You have two conclusions, is that right? Or only one? Okay, one. The progesterone concentration at early gestation seems to have no consistent result on the embryo survival rate. Maybe we need to be very careful about this, because I really worried about the progesterone is not related with embryo survival rate. Yeah, because if progesterone is not related with embryo survival rate, then all this kind of reproduction physiology should be rewriting. You know, this is a problem. I prefer you say that seems still have some other factor to influence on it. Can you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, because progesterone is make the stable of the embryo in the reproduction physiology, so I worry about this part. Okay. One more things, I think very few, maybe not all the audience heard about this. I try to emphasize this part. That is at the moment, I personally sorry says that I personally don't 100% agree the food intake, especially only consider about the energy and the protein. Okay, I will say maybe it's related with some kind of vitamin or minerals. Okay, because last experiment, Su did show if we increase vitamin and minerals in the diet, then we can immediately increase embryo survival. Sorry, not this. I should not say embryo survival rate. I should say litter size. Okay, so this is maybe the outbreak about all the results at the moment, because most of the people is emphasized on the energy metabolism or protein metabolism, but we try to go to another part, that is go to the vitamin or mineral. But I personally believe at the moment it's vitamin, because recently I read many papers is around the vitamin E is a higher related with this antioxidation. Okay, so under the embryo start period, they maybe have a lot of this kind of antioxidation. They maybe have a lot of oxidation situation, and oxidation stage they need the antioxidation ingredient or some kind of compounds. For example, vitamin E and the selenium. Okay, so but at the moment we didn't try the vitamin E and selenium, is because we think maybe increase total premix maybe is the best one. That's why we try to do this kind of experiment again. Okay, I think Su is started this experiment at the moment, so I hope we can get some kind of things interesting. Okay, any other, like Annette, it's you're holding this seminar.
Yes, I still remember when I was student, I really enjoy student life, because like, you know, like when we ask more question or we have more comments, we can share together. When I was student, I dare not to ask, and Dr. Xia always forced us to ask the question if we don't ask. It's not mean when I ask more question or we have more comments, it's not mean we hate you or your presentation is not good. It's not like that. We just want to share like what is our opinion, or some we get more knowledge from other people. Yeah. So have any other questions, please?
Can I make a joke?
Yes. I know your jokes now.
You know, he mentioned about the student and then mentioned about the now. Oh, I just think, you know, I enjoy the student chat. Can I say chat?
Yeah.
Talking a lot. But you know, I really want you ask a question, because if you ask a question, you know, you think about everything. But if you do not ask a question, you didn't think about everything. Okay, I sorry say that I enjoy chat ask a question, because he is still is undergraduate student, but he can ask several questions. Okay, so I hope all the students can ask a question. Wei Jun, do you have any question?
I only have one question. It's about where can I get the recording?
Pardon?
I mean, because I accidentally fall asleep in front of my
because he
computer
come late, he asked when he can get the recording. Maybe you can ask Miss Lee after this seminar.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wondering about the recording video. Where can I get that in so that I can review?
Can I doing like this way? In the future, I encourage everyone go to the seminar on time. Okay. So maybe we will try to. If you have any question, you can chat with Su. Is that okay?
Okay.
静怡，你在旁边偷听干嘛？偷听有什么意见吗？你去照顾小孩了，对不对？他不在。Okay.
I think someone raised hand.
Who raised a hand?
I cannot read the Chinese name.
静怡举手。
哦 ，OK， 静怡，请说。You can speak Chinese. It's okay. But I know you can speak English. 你确定吗？静怡不在现场。Okay.
Okay.
Any question?
Kanika, your main advisor asked me to force you to ask question, please.
So, I don't know much. I don't have any data about the reproductive processing in the pig, but I little bit confused about that embryo survival rate. So I a little bit confused about if you use some hormone for increase the embryo survival rate, maybe that will be maybe this is good than increased feed intake for pig or not. Did you?
你要不要回答？
Okay, I can answer for
懂
this
吗？差不多我的咯，以前的。
懂啦，懂。
好。
Usually we can see we can check from this one. So we can know that when we injection for the progesterone like hormone, so they will increase the P4 concentration in the plasma. But for the embryo survival rate is not really increased. And the other things that so the author, because for this experiment they just published this year, so the author maybe still finding some doing the other experiment, want to improve it. But I find the other experiment that show that also even this experiment is about the rate, but we can see that if they increase too many progesterone concentration for it, they will have some disadvantage. And I think I got the wrong figure, so sorry for that. But that means if you increase too many progesterone from outside, will cause the embryos will cause the uterine or the embryo cannot survive as well as before, because they said the capacity will become more limited, and they also have some disadvantage on it. But for now, I cannot really tell you for this one. We can see that from this small figure. Maybe I move to here. For this one, so we can know that they have more Oh, this one is the showing the number of, sorry, because I didn't think I will use this slide.
So if
the number of implantation sites. So we can see that the implantation size will be decreased if we use too many progesterone.
They have more negative effect on the soul, right?
If overdose.
Yes, if overdose, they have more negative effect. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say like this way? It's more fair. In all the nutrition experiments, they never using injection. Okay. They never using injection of the hormone. We always try to measure the hormone, try to relate with these kind of things. So if your injection and then maybe this is too high, I think any kind of hormone, if too high, they always will have some kind of disadvantage. I should not say damage, but it's disadvantage for to the animals. Okay, that's my personal suggestion. Okay. Any question? Ned, your turn.
Yes.
You try. If you do not say stop, we will continue for whole night.
Okay. Do you have any question or not? If not, maybe we will say goodbye for today. But before we say goodbye.
等一下 ，wait a minute.
先我问我一定要
等一下 ，wait a minute. Miss Lee say something. Miss Lee, what do you say?
Okay. Susu, can you close your slide share so everyone can show on the screen?
Oh, Miss Lee want to take a photo.
Take photo.
Yes, that's it.
Say cheese.
伟俊，可不可以现身？一定要这样害羞吗？头抬高一点，伟俊。太黑了啦。静怡呢？照顾小孩子去了。哦，静怡有在哦。OK，好。李小姐好了吗 ？OK。We can left the screen now. Okay.
Okay. Before we left, next week who is presentation for next week?
Susu.
Norita.
Again? But last week is Norita, right?
No, because last week he is present for his
your class, seminar class.
Yes,
right?
class. Is that right, Norita? Yes. Okay. This is still need to be fair.
Okay, I will ask and Sue, and then we will put our names or the schedule also.
Okay. More than welcome. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
See you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.